Hello and welcome. It's Vicky Midwood here, your host of Raw Chatter, and I have got an amazing guest with me today. Stephanie Shaw is also a podcast host. She is an author and a speaker, and she has an incredible story to share with us. Hot Flashes is the name of the podcast. So, Stephanie, I'm going to hand over to you and ask you why Hot Flashes?
Yes. Hey, Vicky, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. So, I decided to name that podcast Hello Hot Flash because I'm like, I think we need to be embracing this time in our lives. It's super important that we not shy away from menopause because I think it's such a beautiful time in life. It's what you do with this time in life that it impacts you. So that's why I said, hello, hot flash. We're going to embrace you and move forward.
Fabulous. So, of course, typical me got the name wrong. But Hello Hot Flash
Yes.
sounds like we're kind of going, yeah, come on in, it's okay, rather than, oh my God.
I know.
And that's the attitude, isn't it, that we want to get women to have when menopause comes upon us. So, tell us a little bit about what your experience of menopause was and what got you into obviously creating the podcast itself, but there's something else that you do as well, which share with the people why and how you got into nutrition.
Yes. So in all honesty, I was ignorant about the process of going through perimenopause. I thought you get a hot flash, you're okay, move on. But the more research I do, I probably have had 95% of every single symptom that you think that has been listed. I was really, really sick for a long time. So March 23rd, 2017, I was walking down the street in New Orleans and my body just froze. I thought I was having a stroke. And that night, I ended up in two different emergency rooms. But if I look back, I had had symptoms of not being able to climb a flight of stairs without rapid heartbeat, eating certain foods, my heart was beating fast, twitching in my eyes, tingling in my hands and feet, hot flashes. Um, just there was a whole list of symptoms that were going on. On top of it, I was holding on to stress where I couldn't turn my neck back and forth and I had a sciatic pain. So stress, perimenopause, all of this stuff was going on at one time for me. So I ended up going to, over a course of 2 years, I went to 18 different doctors
Wow.
across 4 states, two world-renowned medical facilities, and over $20,000 out of pocket, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. So I could have taken first of all, no one mentioned nutrition and no one mentioned menopause. All of those doctors, like not one. So I
Wow.
could have taken the medication and so forth, but I knew that there had to be a way that I could figure this out so that I could heal my body.
So just
Yes.
let me jump in for a minute there, because obviously you're in the US, we're in the UK, and we're known in the UK as being really good at moaning and complaining about things. But I think it's really important for my listeners universally to hear that this goes on everywhere. That
Yes.
what seemingly is such an obvious question for people to ask, do you think that it could be your
Yes.
age, menopause, and there must be, a list of symptoms that GPs, practitioners have that they know are linked to, and yet nobody was asking you those questions. So it's
No
just
one.
unreal.
I know, and it fed into my ignorance because I'm thinking it actually caused me to have some anxiety attacks. So part of that
Mhm.
20,000 was, visiting an emergency room probably once a month. But I had so much anxiety because I'm like, what is going on, from cardiologists to spine and neck doctors to OBGYNs to just two different physical therapists, acupuncture, dry needling. Like I'd gone the entire gamut, and no one mentioned menopause or nutrition. Like no one asked me about
I'm
it at
just like, my
all.
mind's having a boggle. Did nobody even ask you about your periods? And even like
No,
just a simple, like, are you menstruating regularly? Did that not
right.
even come up?
So, well, of course, my OBGYN knew I had had a hysterectomy, but if I look back, I believe the hysterectomy, if these questions would have been asked before the hysterectomy, I may have not, I'm convinced that I would not have had to have one because of the
Wow.
heavy irregular bleeding. If I were told that, my estrogen and my progesterone and all of my different hormones were basically out of whack and I should do XYZ, make some lifestyle changes, eat differently, exercise, get rid of the toxins in the home, the stuff that we know to do. I believe that I could have been spared the hysterectomy. And I
Wow.
believe that also that while I didn't, I think it also triggered the onset of menopause, but in a different way. So while I joke about hot flashes, in all honesty, I didn't have them like quote unquote people say that they have them. I just had all the other stuff that no one ever talks about. And you're right. I've created a list for folks of just kind of go down this checklist and then make some notes on the list for yourself so that you can present this to the doctor because especially in the US, it's become a numbers game, and often it's not to the fault of the primary care physician. They have numbers and measurements to meet, so they're like, "You're in, you're out, you're in, you're out." And if you don't come prepared for those conversations, then what happened to me could potentially happen to you. But I knew there had to be another way, so I ended up going back. I got 2 nutrition certifications. I kept asking people in my community, my friends, like who can help me? And I found a naturopath who was like 2,000 miles away, but he gave me this list of questions, and you're supposed to just like check what applies to you. I think I checked almost everything on this list. But the cool part is he didn't come back with take this pill, take this treatment, take extra estrogen, take. He came back and said, change your diet, add these supplements. And I
Yeah.
changed my diet, added the supplements, and healed my body.
And that, I mean, this is where my listeners are going to be going, well, it can't have been that easy. And of course, as we know, changing your diet is something that is a bit of a challenge, and you need a lot of guidance and a lot of
Yeah.
help in having to knowing what to do, but how to go about it in the right way for your body.
Yes.
Um, and going back to the checklist and that conversation, and you're absolutely right, it happens here in the UK too. If you don't tick the boxes and hit the numbers, then we're just going to send you off on your merry way. But
Mhm.
if people can be armed themselves with some knowledge about the symptoms that they're having, and at least say, look, this is what's going on, and I know because I've got a list of symptoms that match with this, that this is likely what it is, and I am looking for whatever it happens to be that they're looking for. I think it makes such a difference. So when you started on that journey and you got the answers from the naturopath, did you kind of breathe a bit of a sigh of relief and recognize that there was something that you could do for yourself, and you weren't going crazy, and it wasn't a massive major illness that was happening?
Yes, I did. And I'm going to step back just one quick second and say, on top of going to the doctors, I also had MRIs, CAT scans, scans for cancers, all blood work. Every single thing, including my blood pressure and my EKGs, always came back absolutely normal. So I want people
Oh,
to think about that too, because a lot of times your doctor will say, well, everything looks fine. So that's part of digging deeper. Yes,
thank you
exactly.
for bringing that up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
such a key important one, particularly for women
yes.
who know that we just don't feel right, but we
Hmm.
don't know what it is and we can't put our finger on it. And they go, oh, I send you for blood testing. And
Yeah,
you get those results and you go, yeah, no, everything's fine. And you're going, yeah, but it's not.
it's
It's
not.
not. You know that it's not. And then you can, depending on the doctor, they can either listen to you or they can just dismiss you as being a little bit paranoid or maybe a hypochondriac or whatever. So
Right.
it's really important that you brought that up. And I think, once we recognize that blood testing is a numbers game
Yes,
again,
it
right? There
is.
is a massive parameter of what is normal. And what
Yes.
I explain to my clients is that we're looking for optimal not normal.
Yes.
And so if you're at the tiny bottom end of normal, you're probably not going to feel great. Just as if you're at the very top end of the normal range, you're also probably not going to feel great. And this is where so many issues get missed, because you're in that wide range, which is not optimal.
Yeah, I was always like almost there. Oh, your blood glucose is, don't really worry about it. It's, it's within a parameter, or all the tests always came back where to them as normal. But also remember, with blood work, it's a period of time.
Correct.
And as you said, you know how you feel, so being your own advocate is huge. And
Yeah.
and to your other question, no, it was not easy. So while I say I changed my diet and exercise and changed my mindset, oh yeah. But so mine had gotten so bad that I missed. My son graduated, got his master's degree, so I could not go to the dinner. And my other son graduated from high school, and I could not go to the graduation dinner. So it had started impacting my family life as well. And I was not for that at all, because I'm like helicopter mom at every single event doing whatever. So I think it was, in my mind, I looked at it as being easy for me only because I was completely determined in no way that I'd ever been before to get off that orange couch that I was sitting on all the time and to get back into life. But
Right.
you're right, it's not easy. First of all, you need to learn what foods are right for you, because just because it's healthy, like some fruits are horrible for me and for my body. So you need
Yeah.
to walk through that process of understanding what food is right for you, what supplements are right for you. It's not right for everyone. And if you are on any type of medication, you need to have those conversations. I always say with the pharmacist versus your doctor, but with a
Correct.
pharmacist that you trust, so that they can help you. And it did not happen overnight. It I always say it took me 50 years to get in the state that I was in. So it took close to a year in order, with me really focusing on diet, a lot of mindset work, and exercise, in order for my body to change. But it's so cool now, because even this week, I'm like, oh, I really want pineapples, which give me hot flashes. I already know it. But what did I do? I ate pineapples all week, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a hot flash. So the cool part about it is I know that. So now for the next 2 to 3 months, I won't eat any pineapples or any tropical fruit, and I won't have a hot flash. So there's this learning curve that comes into caring for your body as well. So you will be able to start controlling the way that you eat. And don't think that you have to do it 100% all the time. I always tell clients 80%, 85% of the time, if you're eating well, you will be able to control the stressors and the sleep and everything else that goes along with menopause.
Yeah. And that's such a big one, I think, that comes up for a lot of people, isn't it? Is the stressors, because
Mhm.
people don't recognize. I mean, this is going out just after April, which is Stress Awareness Month
Right.
here in the UK. And what we don't recognize is that there are so many things that create a stress response within the body,
Yes.
and it creates inflammation. And
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the obvious things, because I think stress is one of those words that's kind of changed how we view it. And it's bandied about so easy. Oh, I'm so stressed. Right. Well, we just kind of mean I'm quite busy. You know? So,
Yeah.
so actual stressors, though, just help people to get an idea of what you discovered were stresses for you.
Yeah, so I think so I'm in the middle of writing a course called Mastering Menopause. And in that course, I had to go back and relive some of this stuff. And three things showed up. Right before and at the beginning of me being so ill, we had multiple deaths in the family. But in my mind, I believe in life after death. So I'm thinking, oh, I'll see them again. I felt like I handled it okay. We had job loss within our household, and for 30 years, we always had multiple streams of income, and things are just always worked out for us. So this was something new. In my mind, I'm thinking it always worked out, but my body must not have been telling me the same story. With the death, my body was not telling me the same story. So with stress, I think it's really important to allow yourself to be okay with things that may stress you out, and then start to work on getting to the root cause of the stressors. Like, what is really behind maybe for me, the death and loss. The loss for me was more about the fact that our family is so close, and when people are taken away, like, will this be the beginning of us not all getting together again? Or, how does this impact my kids, or my grandkids won't be able to know this family member? Like, it becomes a lot deeper to me because family's so close. But I had to start to recognize at every stress level what that root cause was, and then start to deal with it, because a lot of times you don't it's not just the everyday stress that's bothering you. And also, one thing that you said is, I'm so stressed. When you're speaking that over yourself all the time, yes, you will be stressed. So I had to also start to change my language and not telling myself that I am stressed out. This is a situation, I need to deal with it right now. I get to decide how I'm going to deal with it, and then I need to move forward. And I know that sounds, because we're within a tight time frame, I know that sounds very simplistic, but it took a lot of work. It took meditation, it took journaling, it took prayer, it took conversations with trusted friends in order for me to get to that place. But now it's super refreshing because things just don't stress me out. Like, even if I think it, it might, I'll sit, I'll think, all right, I can deal with this. And my body feels so it's incredible what joy feels like and lightness feels like. And when you can work on the body, the mind, that's what you also can feel. And that's how you get through that second phase of, or get to menopause, I think, so clearly, because in this phase you gain wisdom. Like, now I
Right.
know it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal that someone left the toilet seat up. Put it down and keep
And that's it.
moving
Move on.
and
And
move.
I'm going to just go back to something that you said there that I think is really important to pick up on, because what you talked about was getting deeper and with getting to know yourself. That is getting wisdom. Who am I? How do I think? How do I feel? But one of the things that when you were talking about the thoughts that you were thinking about, what did loss mean?
Mhm.
And what we do know is that so much stress is created by the thoughts that we think about the stuff that's going to happen that never actually will.
Very true. That is
And
so
that
true.
is where our brain takes us. And so it's not actually the death of someone necessarily. It's the interpretation, it's the perception, is where our thoughts go to what might possibly maybe happen, but actually will never actually happen. But your brain's going to go there. And that's what creates the stress response. So when we can start to be aware of our own thinking, then we can decrease the stress. And that means doing things like taking time out, meditating, or journaling, or just being in nature and noticing, what am I actually thinking? And then, is it helpful? Is it even true? Is it
Yeah.
even mine?
I
Right.
know.
And this is the stuff that once you can start to do that, you can become, just like you've said, somebody who then can just take this stuff
Mhm.
and it's not going to have that profound effect that it might have done had you not done the work and learnt about yourself.
Yeah, and giving yourself time to grieve as well too. So grieving job loss, grieving changes, grieving a divorce, grieving death. I didn't grieve the death of my dad because there was so much work that I had to do to get his business in order, and then to take care of my stepmom, and like, I didn't grieve any of that. And then finally in the shower one day, I just screamed and cried for like 45 minutes, and I didn't understand everything that I was holding on. The job loss, even though, we were fine financially, the circumstances around the loss, until I like actually grieved that moment and understood it, then I could live it. So part of me keeping the stress off my body now is like, okay, is this going to impact me long term? Do I need to grieve this? Is okay, it's okay, grieve it and then move past it. Just, I guess the best way to say is make a decision about the stress. Are you going to allow it to continue to make you ill, or are you going to work to get rid of the stress on your body?
Yeah. And that's the decision. And then what you talked about pineapple, and the
Yeah.
thing that we menopause kind of, and especially for people who have been kind of what I call lifetime yo-yo dieters,
Yeah.
right? They go straight into this. I need to follow a menopause diet, and it's like,
Wow.
stop with the diet, stop with the restrictions. Stop. And I know that a lot of ladies listening will go, yeah, but I eat healthy. So it's not my diet. My diet's fine. I eat healthy. And it's like, it's not about what you conventionally think is a healthy food. As you've just quite rightly said, everybody thinks, well, fruit and vegetables, well, they're healthy, but not in everybody's body. And
Yes.
that's what we've got to recognize, is that, yes, we're all human beings, but our bodies are not going to respond in the same way to the same stuff. And
Yeah.
so getting into tune and understanding and listening, not dismissing the
Mhm.
signals that your body gives you, like the hot flash, it's like you connected that with pineapple.
Yeah.
Other people might be very regular coffee drinkers and not connecting that actually your coffee's making it worse. Yeah, and it's not always things like chilies and the stuff that you hear and read about, but it could be other things that affect you in
Mhm.
the same way that like pineapple does. But the difference is now you're choosing not to eat pineapple, not because somebody said you can't, you mustn't, it's not on your diet plan, but
Yeah.
because you've made a choice. And now it's not hard, is it?
No, no, it's not. It's actually not. Again, I just got on this kick the past couple weeks. It was, really fresh in the grocery store, and I'm like, I know I'm going to suffer. So I'm suffering right now. My fault. And then
Choice.
what? This morning I woke up. Do I make a pineapple smoothie? No, I want to feel better. So I just probably won't eat it until it's fresh again next spring. So I like know what to do. So I think so also what you just said around eating healthy or thinking that you eat healthy. I went into a lot of those doctor's appointments bragging because I was a vegetarian. I'm like, it can't be the food because I'm a vegetarian. So, and I eat pretty healthy, and I ate pretty healthy. So I don't know if me saying that maybe dismissed the thought in their mind. I'm trying to give them a little bit of leeway here because these are like, I went to my girlfriend is one of the lead executives at one of the nationally ranked hospitals that I went to. So like I had the best doctor. So I'm trying to give them a little leeway. But I went in saying that not, and now I recognize things like even as a child, when I ate cabbage is another food that I can't eat. Even as a child, when I eat cabbage, like the next day, kind of didn't feel right. So it's not about eating healthy. It's about eating for you and for your gut. And even if you're an identical twin, your gut is different. So
Correct.
recognizing that even with a quote unquote meal plan, there are things that you need to adjust to make sure that they're good for your body.
Absolutely. And this is why working with a coach
Yes.
is so important and so helpful, because yeah, you can sort of work this stuff out on your own, but it's going to be a lot faster if you work with somebody who can help you and give you some strategies and tips and just how to overcome the obstacles that your mind is definitely going to come up with. So let people know how they can find you and just what do you offer, and also let them know, when is your podcast out?
Oh yeah, sure. So first of all, once again, thank you. They can find me at hellohotflash.com, and the podcast airs every Thursday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the USA. So fresh episode each week, every Thursday. I'm currently creating a course called Mastering Menopause, and that launches. That by the time this airs, that will have already launched. So you can find that information out on the website. And the course is about shifts that we're making in this season in our life, a mindset shift, body shifts, and lifestyle shifts. And once you can get all of those in place, that's when menopause begins to work out for you. So those are the two things that I'm working on. And all of my social media handles also are, actually, they're Hello Hot Flash podcast. So Instagram
Brilliant.
and Facebook. But hellohotflash.com, you can find everything.
Right. And I think one of the things that, and this is why we kind of knew that we were on the same page when we first spoke together, is recognizing that this is not the end. This is you stepping into the new and exciting phase of your life
Yeah.
where you can actually embrace yourself like you've never done before. So do you have any final words to leave our listeners in with? Because menopause, I believe, and I think you do too, is the start, not the end.
I that that's what I was going to say. It just I was going to say it's the start, not the end. So I echo what you're saying, but also to embrace this time, because think of it this way: you have more wisdom in the things that you say, more wisdom in the way that you walk, what you do. You've learned some things. What, and now it's time for you to implement some of the things you've learned and to live in the freedom that comes with being an older, more mature adult.
Yeah. And being comfortable being you.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Brilliant. Stephanie, it has been an absolute delight. Thank you so much. Folks, please do keep on tuning in. If you have enjoyed what we have talked about, please do hit that subscribe button so we can let you know when the next episode is out. But also pass it on to somebody who you think may find the content of this podcast helpful or useful, because we aim to talk about subjects that perhaps are a little bit difficult to talk about with certain people, but maybe just giving them a little bit of a nudge and just saying, hey, have a listen to this. You might just be helping them to help themselves to feel fantastic in their own body. You only have one body. We only have one life, as far as we know. Look after yourself. You do deserve it. You are worth it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care.